So let's talk about a few of the cool other features that storage accounts support for blobs and other file types. Let's talk about lifecycle management. If we go on the Azure portal, on the storage account, under data management, we'll see an option called lifecycle management. Now, lifecycle management, and I think I've mentioned this before in this course, is the ability to move data from a more expensive pricing tier down to cheaper tiers as the files get older effectively. So for log files and backup files, things that have less value to you as they get older, but you might still want to keep, you can move them to cooler or colder levels of storage and save significant amounts of money. So let's look at this. I'm going to click on add a rule. Give the rule a name. I'm going to call this the saving money rule. And I have the option of applying the rule to all blobs in the entire storage account, or to set some type of filter so that only blobs in a certain container get applied. I also get to choose which type of blobs get picked up. Now, one of the interesting parts is whether I want this to operate on the blobs themselves, snapshots, which we'll talk about in the section coming in terms of Azure files and points in time recovery for Azure files, or versions of files. So imagine you've turned on versioning, and over 6 months, 9 months, some of the older versions become less and less important to you. You can actually just save money by storing the older versions in cooler or colder storage that you need in case of emergency, but you're not likely to access frequently. So I'm going to do this based on base blobs just for this example. Now, what we're setting up here is a rule that says if the blob was last modified more than so many days ago, let's say more than 30 days ago, then what do we want to happen to it? Now, we can just delete it. So if it's a daily log file, then maybe you don't need to keep more than 30 days of daily log files. And so on the 31st day, this lifecycle management rule will delete the file. And that's perfectly fine too. Or maybe you just want to move it from hot storage to cool storage, or even as far as going to cold storage if you really don't think you're going to need this file after 30 days. Now, notice some of the comments here. I haven't mentioned it before in this course, but as you get into cool, cold, and archive, there is some minimum charges that come into play. So when you move a file into cool storage, you're going to be charged a minimum of 30 days at that rate. So you can't just move a file into cool storage for 24 hours and then delete the file and expect to save money just for that one day. You've got a minimum in terms of the charge. You can still delete the file, but you'll be charged for the full 30 days. Cold storage is for 90 days, and archive storage is going to minimum charge you 180 days at that lowest rate. But remember, archive storage can be 5% of the cost of hot storage. So you're saving a significant amount of money. And even if you store it just for a month, you're still saving money at that level. So as we can see, lifecycle management is where you go. If you see this on the exam and it's asking about setting up a job to automatically move blobs to save money, then you should be thinking about lifecycle management as being the easiest way to do that. Now, the AZ 104 exam requirements mentions the topic of object replication. If we go into the storage account under data management, you'll find an object replication menu item, and we go into there. So object replication allows you to have asynchronous copies of a source storage account to a destination account. So you can imagine a scenario where you have storage accounts that are specific to a region or specific to a particular location of your business, and you want to have a roll up where all the data from all of these storage accounts get stored into one central account. And so you can do this using object replication. As it says, you can use, if the storage account has been created with cross-tenant enabled, which is an action that you have to take to allow it, then you can use these storage accounts across subscriptions, or even these storage accounts may be in different regions. So if you have storage accounts from all over the world coming to a particular region for the roll-up action. So we have two tabs here, your accounts and other accounts. Let's just take a look at this concept of replication rules. It should be pretty straightforward. So we have a source, a storage account, and a destination storage account. So it's asking for a destination. I'm going to choose one of these other storage accounts as the destination. Then we can choose the source, which could be the first container that we've created, and we can choose the destination, which could be one of these containers. And as it says, copy over only new objects. We can obviously modify this such that it copies everything, or that we put some custom rules on what gets copied, date, time, etc. So if we were to create this rule, then any new files created on this storage account, AZSGD new storage demo, in this container will get copied to that other storage account in that other container. So that's a pretty straightforward way to do object replication using tools provided by Microsoft Azure. Now, we already know that if you want to upload a file into a storage account, you can use the portal through the browser. You could upload a file into the storage account manually in this user interface. But this is definitely not the most efficient way to do this. Now, what if you have two storage accounts and you want to move a file or copy a file from one storage account to the other? It doesn't seem very efficient as well to then download the file to your local machine, go over to this other storage account and upload the file there. We need some kind of tool that allows us to copy files into and out of a storage account or between storage accounts in the most efficient manner possible. That tool is called AZ Copy. So you can go into your favorite search engine and search for AZ Copy. Now, this tool hasn't changed in many years. It's AZ Copy V10 is still the latest version. If you want to download it, it comes across many different operating systems. So we got Windows and Linux and Mac. It also has RPM and other types of Linux installers that it supports, APT. So I'm going to start PowerShell here, and we're going to CD into the directory I downloaded, Windows 64-bit version, and extracted the zip file, and I have AZ Copy running here as a standalone program. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can use it. We could obviously log into Entra using AZ Copy and have permissions that are granted by RBAC. Or one way that I like to use it is through an SAS token. So let's say I want to go back to my containers. I want to go to this destination folder, but I want to generate the SAS for this destination folder. I'm going to use the storage account key. I want to be able to write files using this. Let's give it full permissions for a limited time. It looks like it's about 6 hours. And HTTPS, and I want to say generate SAS token. And I'm going to copy the whole URL, including the storage account and the folder name. So I can say AZ copy. The command is copy. I have to choose the source file for this, and then the destination, which I just created the SAS token. All right, so I picked a random MP4 file off of my computer, and I'm going to be uploading it into the destination container of the storage account. Again, we're using the SAS token that I generated. So I would have permissions to write. Now it is running, and I can see that it transfers completed, the number of bytes transferred, etc. If I go back into the destination, I can see the file I just uploaded is there already. So AZ Copy allows us to manipulate files, again, between storage accounts or from your local to storage account, copy blobs, synchronize blobs, etc., using a command line, which is a lot more efficient than doing everything through the browser. So you may have seen this storage browser on the left side of the storage account. Now, it does bear some similarity to the way that we look at containers or file shares from the container or file share section of this. We can see that we go into storage browser, we can go into blob containers, and here we have our first container that we created. We can create a new container, so it's very similar to the other interface. One of the differences here is that we can actually perform some file operations like copy and paste. So if I wanted to copy this file into a new container, then I could copy it here, move to the other container, and paste it in there. So there are some additional functions in the storage browser. We still have the 3 dots, and we can still do things such as SAS, and here's another clone. So if we wanted to make a duplicate of this file, there's a clone option within the 3 dots. If I go down to the file shares, very similar. We'll see the file share that we created. We'll see the directory, and we'll see the files. I can, again, copy and paste files from within storage browser. One of the new features in the storage browser that doesn't exist in the file share section of the storage account is the SAS option. So there's 3 dots next to the file. I'm going to choose this one with the TXT, say generate SAX, and then I can, in this case, use the key. So one of the things, of course, is the key has been disabled for this account. We no longer use key, so we can't do SAS for the file share because I've disabled it for this account. But if we did have it, that's would be where you could do it. Now, Microsoft does have a downloadable app called Azure Storage Explorer, which you could do something very similar from your desktop. It's a free download for Windows, Mac, and Linux, and you can do these file-based manipulations in a software application on your desktop. So it's now, of course, if we're doing file shares, you can just use the normal Windows or Linux connection to that share, just as you would a local drive. But if you need an app to do it, you can download an app. So anyways, that is a storage browser. It does allow you a different view of your storage account, including containers, file shares, queues, and tables, and a couple of additional features not available in the other view.